Happy New Year! I meant to release this last night, but the script literally took me hours to write, so please excuse this video for being late. And, yeah, before I forget anything, me and my messy hair, get this out of the way real quick. Congrats to the Baltimore Ravens, #1 seed in the AFC, and hopefully the Super Bowl champions of this year. I hope so. But anyway, now covering up my mess of a hair. Welcome, one and all, to the final list of the second medium of media that we have to take a look at, and that is games. Last night, well, the night before last night, whatever, we looked at the top 15 worst games of the year. Now it's time to end this year by praising it. And yes, I know, like I said, the video's late, but I'm still pretending I'm in 2023 for this one brief moment, okay? Sue me. So, yep, this is going to be a pretty big list, so let's not waste any time and just dive right in. I have a massive, massive script written out here, so please forgive me if I forget anything. So, without any more further ado or delay, let's begin. It's time to end off 2023 with a huge bang. This was undeniably one of the greatest years for video games in all of history. Sure, there was more than a few stinkers, but they were far outweighed by all the amazing quality titles released all throughout this 365-day span. Now, as we reach the end of the year and the dawn of the next, which looks to be even more stacked with the likes of the highly anticipated Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and one of my personal most anticipated games, Cat Quest III, among many others, set to release this year, it only seems right to conclude this calendar year by praising the best of the best that this year had to offer. Before we begin though, we gotta briefly discuss those titles that didn't quite make the final cut, but still deserve recognition for all they have achieved. And unlike the worst list games, I'm actually gonna elaborate a bit more on these ones. But no graphics are gonna appear on screen or anything, I'm just gonna talk about them for a little bit. So, without further ado, these are my honorable mentions. Honorable mention number 1, can't go without mentioning this one, Marvel's Spider-Man 2. The proud winner of 4 Stat Squad awards, including Game of the Year, and voted Game of the Year by the majority of the players who got to experience it, this highly anticipated sequel lived up to the hype for many and is sold incredibly well. Great graphics, dynamic gameplay, amazing storytelling, excellent characters, phenomenal voice acting, and fantastic world traversal. But I bet you're all wondering how it didn't make the list, and it's simply because I've unfortunately never gotten to play it, as I don't own a PlayStation 5, and the Gaming Shock kiosk that did have this system only had one game, and it was not this one. It was the one that actually made my list. Regardless, it deserves recognition because I have no doubt that it's a fan favorite of the year, and any best list would be incomplete without it. So it falls here in the honorable mentions. So, yep, that's a shout out to the webheads. Sorry, but I just didn't get to experience this game this year. Sorry. Honorable mention number 2 is a game that I have experienced, Baldur's Gate 3. It's nice to see that the Game Awards darling of the year is not a piece of crud for once. Last of Us 2. And this is definitely a game that deserves its accolades. Even as someone who's not that much into the role-playing game Dungeons & Dragons, I cannot deny that this is a true AAA gaming experience. Unfortunately though, I've only been able to play about 3.5 hours of it due to time constraints and of course trying to keep on schedule with the uploads of this channel, so I can't put it on the actual list in good faith, but I definitely recommend it to any fans of RPGs. It'll satisfy you. Honorable mention number 3 goes to Armored Core 6: The Fires of Rubicon. While I'm not really that much into mech combat games and haven't played any of the previous Armored Core games yet, I straight up loved this one and had a blast shredding through everything in my path with my mech's many different weapons. But unfortunately, just like Baldur's Gate 3, I sadly haven't gotten to play this one enough to justify a spot on the list. Regardless though, it's a fantastic title that is more than worth the money. Honorable mention number 4 is Hi-Fi Rush, another Stat Squad award winner. I gave Xbox a lot of well-deserved flack for their many bonehead decisions this year, 2 of them coming from Bethesda. But I won't hesitate to praise this fantastic rhythm-driven platform action game for how much pure genuine fun it was to play through from start to finish. Great music, superb graphics, responsive controls, excellent new characters, and outstanding voice acting all easily made this among my highlights of the year. But it can't quite make the list simply because of how stiff competition is this year. And finally, honorable mention number 5, a game that would make the list probably if it weren't for the fact that it's disqualified by my personal guidelines. And that game is Sonic Origins Plus. As much as I love this pesky Blue Devil and give a lot of credit to Sega for fixing the many mistakes of the initial release of Origins, it is ineligible for the list because I try not to include unchanged ports, collections, or re-releases on this list, with the exceptions of obviously remasters and remakes. But props to Sega for fixing most of the technical issues, as well as surprising us Sonic fans by also including the Game Gear titles for the first time since Mega Collection Plus as compensation. Seriously, huge props to Sega. I give them a lot of respect for actually including all 16 original Game Gear titles, including Tails Sky Patrol and Tails Adventure, for the first time since Mega Collection Plus, and the first ever Sonic Collection since Mega Collection Plus to have those games included. So, yeah, thank you, Sega. I give you a lot of credit for that, and if it weren't for the fact that it is pretty much nothing more than a collection of unaltered games, I unfortunately cannot give you a spot on the list. But don't worry, the little blue blur won't make his appearance, so don't you worry. You're still on the list, Sega. And that's all the honorable mentions. Now it's time to begin the show proper and get to the true stars of this year. These are my top 20 best games of 2023. Sit back, relax, it's going to be a very long video. I wouldn't be surprised if we go over the hour mark. And I hope you guys enjoy. Let's begin. Let's kick it off at number 20 with a pretty predictable entry, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Even as a Sonic fan, I can't deny that Mario, and the Nintendo Switch in general for that matter, has had a fantastic year. From the excellent new animated film to the RPG remake that people have been begging for years for Nintendo to make, Mario has been giving a lot of great things to his fans for them to enjoy, all throughout 2023. And this, in my opinion, is the best of the lot from this year. Great level design, solid new voice acting from the newcomer that's replacing Charles Martinet, as Charles has retired. Delightful music, tight controls, beautiful art design, solid graphics, and some new gameplay mechanics to keep things fresh. However, the story is just okay, and coming off the heels of Odyssey, it does feel like a tad bit of a downgrade. Regardless, however, this is still yet another great Mario game that's worth the $60. And there's more greatness to come, as this is far from the last Switch exclusive game to make the list. So, yeah, everything that's pretty much been said about this game has already been said, and I don't really know what I can really add. It's a great title, it deserves to be among the best of the year, but putting it in the top 10 is a little bit overrated, in my opinion. Still a fantastic game, though. I can't wait to see what Nintendo does next. And let's hope it's not a flaming dumpster fire. Number 19 goes to Atomic Heart. While this is definitely a pretty divisive game in terms of the general consensus, I personally had a great time with this one. Unique story, great design, solid controls, excellent voice acting, and a very bonkers ending made this a pretty unforgettable experience. But at the end of the day, it is also just another first-person shooter, so the controls and gameplay are quite familiar to COD or Battlefield players, which does keep it from going any higher on the list. Still a fun time though if you can find it for a decent price. Like, 60 is a bit much for this game, but if you can find it at like 40, maybe 30, definitely check this one out. Number 18, and I can already hear those comments about to start in the comments section for playing this game this low, but trust me, it deserves it. Mortal Kombat 1 is number 18 on this list. This low placement is going to shock a lot of you guys, but it's for more than a few reasons. Firstly, The terrible Switch port, with constant frame-dropping lag and abysmal graphics, which are both inexcusable considering its full price tag at a whopping $70. Secondly is the greedy microtransactions known as the special holiday fatalities, where they very blatantly rob you, the player, of $10 a piece for some of the absolute worst fatalities in all of Mortal Kombat. Especially the Halloween one in particular, which, yes, it's cool that they reference Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. I'll give them that. It's still pretty much bloodless and obnoxiously lazy. And finally, the one bad voice performance of Megan Fox as the new voice of Nitara, which was so stilted and flat that you could probably get a better experience out of a block of wood. Like, I'm sorry, Megan Fox, I'm sure you're a nice person, but you were not fit for this character at all. But on the other consoles and PC, this is still an excellent game, with top-tier graphics, excellent gameplay with tons of complex new mechanics, great storytelling that continues perfectly from the ending of Mortal Kombat 11, superb new character designs that are very distinct from the past versions, the return of some old favorites, some great DLC fighters including the badass Omni-Man from Invincible, and some very cool fatalities that, while not as great as 11's, in my personal opinion, are still plenty satisfying. This is far from my favorite Mortal Kombat, and it's not my favorite fighting game of the year, but it's still great regardless, and more than deserves a spot on the list. If it weren't for the bad Switch port, the greedy microtransactions, and Megan Fox being a terrible Nitara, I would put this higher on the list. But unfortunately, because of those problems, I just can't bring myself to do it. Still a great game though. If you get it on actual console and PC and not Switch, you should have a great time. So that's number 18, Mortal Kombat 1. Number 17 goes to the first of a few surprises on this list, and that is Honkai Star Rail. As I explained in my review here on Facebook from a while back, this game really surprised me considering it's from the same company who made the awful Genshin Impact. But this year was pretty much full of surprises. Remarkable storytelling, incredibly fun, satisfying turn-based combat, awesome character and art designs, stellar voice acting, wonderful music, and a lot of pure enjoyability. Sure, it is still a gacha, and it still has some microtransactions, but they're not as annoyingly intrusive this time. I mean, it's not like Genshin where it outright blocks your progression. Yes, I'm still not over that. And Hoyoverse has definitely shown clear improvement as a developer. Honestly, thanks to this game turning out so surprisingly excellent, I'm pretty excited for Zenless Zone Zero, and whatever it has to bring with its new steampunk 3D action game type of aesthetic it has going. Yes, it'll probably still be a gacha, but I'll still be there to play it day one. And that's thanks to the greatness of Honkai Star Rail. Absolutely check it out if you haven't already. It's available on every single platform, including mobile, so you have no excuse. Check it out if you haven't. 16 is Renfield Bring Your Own Blood. Again, I just did a weird wrist crack. Yes, a PC-exclusive movie tie-in game based on the criminally underrated horror movie comedy Renfield that takes inspiration from Vampire Survivors, makes it into the best list. And I'm not ashamed of it whatsoever. This game is incredibly fun and at times very challenging and chaotic, but not enough to rage quit, and instead encourages practice to defeat the challenges in front of you, the player, which is what games like this should do instead of just being hard for the sake of being hard. I can't really say much more than that. If you enjoy the bullet hell mayhem of Vampire Survivors, you'll enjoy this too. And if you love Renfield, the movie, like I did, you'll have extra appreciation for how great this game is. Great job, Skydance Interactive. You deserve a spot on the list. Number 15, time to get controversial again, because this is probably a game that I know a lot of people are going to put in their top 10 without a single bit of hesitation, but not me, and that is Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Yes, I eventually finally played this game, but only after it dropped down in price, because I still stand by refusing to support paying $70 next-gen price for a game on an underpowered console of the previous generation. I mean, if this game released on the Nintendo Switch 2, then I wouldn't have a problem with it, but it's still the normal Switch. A console that wasn't even up to par with PS4 or Xbox One. So, no excuses. But when the price finally dropped to about the usual $60, I gave it a go. And this is definitely a great follow-up to Breath of the Wild, a game that I'm not a huge fan of, but I still enjoy well enough. With the expansion to the skies of Hyrule to make this already massive open-world game even larger, along with a few new mechanics including building those super fun rocket ships and cars that you see running around on YouTube, and some new powers for Link to make it feel like a different adventure. However, there's still the stupid weapon durability system, the agonizing hunt for the Korok seeds, which is now up to 2,000. Yeah, masochist much. And the limited stamina, which are all still present and just as infuriating as the first time around, which keeps this from going any higher. Still, this is a great game that will pretty much satisfy any fans of the Zelda series, and if it weren't for those problems, it would probably be higher on the list. But, again, just gotta call it like I see it, and as I see it, this is a great game, but not a top 10 game. 14, let's get another licensed game in here, shall we? With AEW Fight Forever. Speaking of companies who've had a great year, we can't go without mentioning the licensed game kings known as THQ Nordic, who are back again with more examples of how to use a licensed IP correctly. This time, the first ever video game for the company AEW, or All Elite Wrestling, the competitor of the WWE. Developed by the legendary Yuke's, responsible for some of the greatest WWE games of all time, this $40 first attempt is a very impressive and incredibly fun game that makes pretty much all the current 2K WWE games look far inferior in comparison. I mean, no offense to 2K23, it's actually really good, but my point still stands, this is way better. With tight controls, tons of different modes, solid graphics, a very diverse roster of both legends and newcomers, the return of a ton of old school wrestling game mechanics that haven't been seen in years, and a pretty good online connection with little to no issues. THQ Nordic knocks it out of the park yet again, and it's not even the best game they've released this year. If you are a subscriber to this channel, you should already know which one's their best of the year. But excellent game and fantastic job by Yuke's for bringing back the golden age of wrestling games into the new generation. Don't let the fact that this is not WWE scare you away. This is a damn good wrestling game. Check it out if you haven't already. Number 13, time for another Switch exclusive title. It's Metroid Prime Remastered. Honestly, calling this a remaster doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, as it had so much genuine effort and passion put into it that it could be comparable to the modern high-quality remakes. But I gotta go with what the title says. To help make the continued wait for the upcoming Metroid Prime 4 a little less excruciating than it already is, and to build on the positive momentum of last year's excellent Metroid Dread, Nintendo decided to release an updated version of the original for the Switch to once again resounding success. The updated graphics are fantastic with brighter colors and more blast effects. The gameplay is a great change of pace from the usual 2D labyrinth-like style of previous games. The music is excellent, the difficulty is gradual and not too jarring, and the story is pretty good. If you haven't played the original Metroid Prime before, give this a shot. Yes, it's a full $60, but it warrants that full $60. This is a fantastic game and a great remaster. Great job, Nintendo. Great job. Number 12, this is probably about to surprise a lot of you because it features a certain little pesky Blue Devil. And you may be surprised, like, wait, what? This game's not in the top 10? Guys, that's how great this year was, that this guy didn't have a guaranteed lock in the top 10 like last year with Sonic Frontiers. So, number 12 on the list goes to Sonic Superstars. Yes, I know you are probably all expecting this to be a lock in the top 10 considering how much I love this pesky little Blue Devil and most of his games. But in a year as stacked as this one, someone had to miss out on the top 10, and unfortunately this year, Sonic just doesn't quite cut it. With that said though, Superstars is still yet another spectacular Sonic title that takes the tried and true 2D gameplay of the Blue Blur's Golden Age titles and puts a new innovative spin on it with the addition of new added Chaos Emerald powers outside of just allowing Sonic to go super, including Shadow Clone Jutsu from Naruto. Yes, I get the reference, and yes, it is funny. For the first time in the history of the entire franchise, full 4-player story mode, online and offline co-op. Add in absolutely gorgeous graphics with a brand new art style, thanks to Arzest. Awesome, refreshing level design, a great new character in Trip the Dragon, who I already think is the most adorable character of the year. Fantastic music, awesome animated cutscenes, fun and unique special stages, and a solid new story, and you have an all-around great experience. With the exception of the one big flaw that can harm the overall experience at times, which keeps it from going higher on the list: the boss fights. They're not as terrible, and they're far from the worst of the series, as some people have tried to say online. But they are drawn out, slow, repetitive, monotonous, and at times quite tedious. So yeah, that is still a huge problem, just like many other reviewers say, but it's not as bad as most reviewers say. Despite that though, this is still yet another excellent Sonic the Hedgehog game that I can easily recommend to fellow fans of this franchise. Just didn't quite make the top 10. Like I said, stacked year for gaming, but excellent job to Arzest, and what a bounce back after creating the awful Balan Wonderworld. Like, seriously, props. Props for coming back from that piece of crap. And props to Sega for actually letting someone besides Sonic Team develop a game for once. So yep, Sonic Superstars is a great time. If you're a Sonic fan, absolutely check it out. Especially since it's dropped to $40. And finally, number 11, the final game to not quite make the top 10, and that is Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe. Welcome back, Kirby! For the second year in a row, you've made the best list with yet another excellent game. Last year, it was the spectacular Kirby and the Forgotten Land. This time, it's a remake of the classic Return to Dreamland exclusively for the Switch. Yes, another Switch exclusive. As someone who sadly never got to experience the original Return to Dreamland, this one gave me that chance, and I can see why it's regarded as one of the Pink Puffball's best titles, as this one was a lot of fun. Great graphics, fantastic gameplay, adorable art design, wonderful music, and some excellent boss fights make it yet another top-tier Switch exclusive. Then add on the simple but fun Magolor DLC for an extra bit of gameplay at the very end after beating the initial game, and you have undoubtedly one of the best games of the year. I mean, it's Kirby. Do we expect anything less of this little pink puffball? So, congrats, Kirby. You made it to the best list for the second year in a row. And now for the best of the best, where the competition gets even stiffer than it already is. So, let's press through together, shall we? First up, at number 10, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. Game Mill Entertainment has had a pretty rough year, with some poor quality releases like Rise of Kong and Avatar Quest for Balance, both of which I shredded in the worst list. But no one can deny that not only is Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 easily their best game of this year, but arguably one of the greatest platform fighters of all time. Stellar graphics, outstanding gameplay, superb roster including incredible new additions like Meme Lord himself, Squidward Tentacles, and the long-awaited return of a fan-favorite Danny Phantom character, Ember McLean. Phenomenal voice acting, including a bunch of returning voice actors and actresses we haven't seen in years, including Debbie Derryberry as the voice of Jimmy Neutron. Great new mechanics, including the slime meter and ultimate attacks to add even more depth to an already intricate combat system, amazing level design that keeps each fight from feeling too repetitive, an excellent new campaign mode with a surprisingly fun crossover story very reminiscent of the Nicktoons Unite games, and a ton of fan service for the fans of each represented series all throughout, especially SpongeBob in particular. I really liked Ludosity's first game despite the somewhat critical mediocrity it got, but this one felt like it was realized to its full potential. Time will tell whether or not this will be a smash killer or not, but this is a must-play for any Nickelodeon fan. Hands down the best fighting game of the year, and I can't wait for what the upcoming DLC has in store. Which, I mean, we already know it's Krabs, Zuko, and Rocksteady, but I'm sure there'll be more coming in 2024 because this game was super successful. It's gotten high praise from even the most stingy of gaming outlets. And I can't wait to see what's next for this awesome, awesome title. I don't know what else to say. It's a fantastic game that's more than worth your time. So, yep, that's All-Star Brawl 2. Moving on. Number 9 goes to Hogwarts Legacy. The Harry Potter games have undoubtedly been pretty hit or miss over the years, with some, like both of the LEGO Harry Potter titles, being highly regarded, whereas others like EA's abysmal Deathly Hallows tie-ins are considered among the worst licensed games ever made. But there's no doubt that Hogwarts Legacy deserves to be up there with the absolute best of them. Developed by Portkey Games with the help of WB, this latest adventure allows you to create your own original character and go through your own story through Hogwarts set 40 years before the events of Harry Potter take place. Getting sorted into a house, traversing the very expansive grounds of Hogwarts, mixing potions, learning spells, and best of all, getting to choose between being good and evil at any time you want, via the many different characters you can interact with all throughout your journey. Then on top of that, there's also fun mini-games to unwind, a place to hone your dueling skills, traversing beyond just Hogwarts itself through many new forests and caves among other locations, and battle enemies with one of the most diverse and incredibly fun combat systems that I've ever seen. It's that kind of combat system where you can transfigure someone into a barrel, throw the barrel at another guy, and then throw a couple curses at another guy a few seconds later. Seriously, just look up some amazing combos online with the combat of this game, and you'll get why I think it's so fun. And because the game itself is just amazing. And then there's even more stuff to do on top of that, like broomstick flying. Unfortunately, due to story reasons, there's no Quidditch. Thestral and Hippogriff flying, and even a zoo of magical beasts that you can feed and pet whenever you want. Possibilities are pretty much endless, and it all serves to make each journey more unique than your previous one. An outstanding title that all Harry Potter fans deserve to experience, and heck, even if you're not the biggest fan of Harry Potter, it is a damn good RPG. Absolutely check it out. It is way more than just Elder Scrolls with it is way more than just Skyrim with wands. It's an incredible experience that will probably become the most beloved and highly regarded Harry Potter game of all time. I literally have nothing more to say. It is an amazing title that you need to experience if you haven't already. Number 8 goes to Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 Turbocharged. The first Hot Wheels Unleashed was my favorite game of 2021 and has only gotten better the more I've played it. And now Milestone Games is back with a second installment that's somehow even bigger, better, and badder than the original. Expanding the racetracks from just the rooms and the weird endless skies thing to the backyards and all over the house. This sequel comes packed with even more expansive track design, even more cars with different racing styles including monster trucks straight out of the gate, even more new mechanics including a jump button to fly over gaps, and even more incredible, creative, extremely diverse track builder that gives even more freedom to build whatever tracks you want, and an even more expansive car customizer to really make your ride stand out from the rest. Awesome game once again, but not quite the best racing game of the year. Still easily worth your money though. I loved the first Hot Wheels Unleashed 2. I've loved the first Hot Wheels Unleashed. This one's even better. Absolutely check it out if you haven't already. But if you want the best racing game of this year, look no further than number 7, one of the games I actually did a video on. And that is Disney Speedstorm. Like I said, this year was full of surprises, and this is yet another one. Developed by Gameloft, the team behind the Asphalt games, this brand new Disney-themed kart racer succeeds at being both challenging and a ton of fun. Phenomenal track design, great graphics, excellent roster of Disney legends, both old and new, with more being added every single month. Fantastic gameplay that expands on the already solid mechanics of both the licensed Cars games and the Asphalt games, and accelerates them to whole new heights and levels, excellent music, tight responsive controls, and a fun but challenging career mode with tons of cool unlockables. Sure, there are some microtransactions and the mobile versions aren't very good, but A, that's touch controls, you can only expect so much, and B, because it's a game that's trying to be on every single platform known to man. You have to give it a little leeway. But on console and PC, this is a very accessible and delightful kart racer that anyone and everyone can enjoy regardless of age or experience. The best racing game of the year, and I highly recommend you check it out on whatever platform you desire. And with that, I'm going to take a sip of coffee. Excuse me. Okay, so yep, that is number 7, Disney Speedstorm. Awesome game. Check it out if you haven't already. Next up, moving on up to number 6, is the Token Best Indie Game of the Year. There's been a lot of really cool indie games this year, from games like Dredge to, Dave the Diver. There's been a lot of great indie games this year. But for my money, the best of the bunch, and the one that falls right here at the number 6 spot, is Sea of Stars. Every year, there's always that one breakout indie game that makes pretty much everyone's best list. And this year, it's the pirate RPG Sea of Stars' turn in the spotlight. Not only does this game deserve credit for being that rare pirate-themed game that's not a piece of crap, but also because it's such a fantastic game in general. From the gorgeous pixel art to the amazing music to the excellent turn-based gameplay. Yeah, I'm a fan of turn-based RPGs if you can't already tell. To the delightful new characters, it all just works out so well together. Yes, I'm aware of the completionist controversy, but I wouldn't dare fault this game for that, because that's a fault of that man's dumbassery and not this game itself. This game does not deserve to be penalized for that. Overall, undoubtedly, a stellar RPG. In a year full of stellar RPGs. Here we go, guys. Top 5. This is when things start getting intense, when things start getting really stiff in the competition, and when things start getting a little controversial, especially because a lot of the picks I have on the top of this list are going to more than surprise a couple of you. So, let's not waste any time and just dive straight into it, shall we? Number 5... My Hero Ultra Rumble. As a huge fan of My Hero Academia, I take any chance I get to highlight the surprisingly good games tied to this license. Yeah, the first My Hero's One's Justice was just okay and not very fully realized, but My Hero One's Justice 2 was great, Strongest Hero was great, Ultra Impact was surprisingly good for a mobile turn-based RPG, and now we have yet another really good MHA game with My Hero Ultra Rumble. And after almost 3 whole years of waiting, we finally got this latest game in the franchise. And this is probably one of the best entries yet, a free-to-play battle royale where instead of guns, we use the many different quirks of the heroes and a couple villains to claim victory with the help of our teammates in 3-team matches in 8 teams of 3 members each matches. Sure, the game's actual online is really sweaty and hard to play, especially alone, as I've stated pretty much at length in my first impressions video, but the bot mode is much better with adjustable difficulty that allows you to hone the skills of the many different playable characters. And when I say many, I mean many. There is a huge amount of playable characters in this battle royale. And just to name a few of them, Deku, Kacchan, Uraraka, Kirishima, All Might, Endeavor, Todoroki, Tenya, Mount Lady, Monster Girl, Kaminari, Dabi, Mr. Compress, Toriyama? I'm sorry, I forget the girl's name. And many others are all playable, all with different unique gameplay styles to vary up each round and help serve whichever playstyle best fits you. If you're someone that goes for ranged attacks over being up close and personal, then you're probably going to be with Kaminari, who you can throw, you can throw lightning blasts at, and is very much focused on ranged combat. If you're someone who likes to play up close and personal, you can play with characters like Ida or All Might. And then if you want someone that's kind of in the middle, you can play with characters like Deku and Uraraka. So there is a bunch of different playstyles here, there's a bunch of variation here, and it all fits to help you figure out what character is best for you and what best fits your personal playstyle. Sure, it's unfortunately only one map, the one training area from the actual anime, which is a bummer, and yes, this does have gacha-like microtransactions, a lot like Star Rail, but just like Star Rail, it's not all that intrusive. Not to mention, you get a lot of really cool stuff in the polls, and the rates are actually quite good. Take notes, Madden, this is how you do that kind of system correctly. But since the roster of characters is so varied and the customization is so expansive, I can forgive it. Not to mention, since the game is free, they gotta make money somehow. It is still Bandai Namco. And the game itself is so much fun that I can honestly not find it all that intrusive. And heck, I actually really like the summoning animation where you save a civilian from a falling building with All Might's smash. Like, really cool summoning animation. Easily among the biggest surprises of the year, and definitely my pick for the best anime game of the year. I absolutely loved Ultra Rumble. I've played it a lot since then on both my PC and my Switch, and sometimes on PS4 if I feel like it, but mainly I always play it on PC and Switch. That's what I play it on. But the only reason why this is not higher on the list, outside of just really sweaty online, is because there's no crossplay. That is a huge bummer, because I would have loved to build up this great high-level profile on PC, and then whenever I'm on the go or want to hang out downstairs and don't want to play on PC, pull up my Switch and play crossplay on that. Which, by the way, Speedstorm does have crossplay. So, yeah, I don't know why this game doesn't have crossplay, it's a bit weird to me, but regardless, this is a phenomenal title that's absolutely worth your time if you, for whatever reason, have not played it yet already. Absolutely fantastic game, and you can look forward to Bandai Namco being in the best list yet again next year with the highly anticipated Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, aka Budokai Tenkaichi 4. Whatever you prefer. Point is, Bandai Namco's on a tear right now, and it's mainly thanks to this game. I love Ultra Rumble, I don't care if it's not on any other best list aside from mine, but this was hands down one of the most fun games that I played all year. And my Steam doesn't lie, it's my most played game of this year too. It was fun, it was incredibly varied, and I thank Bandai Namco for giving us yet another awesome My Hero Academia title. Hopefully we get another new console game soon, but until then, this awesome, cross-platform, free-to-play Battle Royale is one of the most refreshing and fun Battle Royales I've ever played, and if you have not played it yet and you're a fan of My Hero Academia, you absolutely need to check it out. It's pretty much on every platform aside from mobile, so you have no excuse, and it's 100% free. You don't have to do microtransactions, you don't have to do the gacha if you don't want to. You can just hop right in, maybe practice mode a little bit so you get a handle of which character you like best, and then go straight into combat. So, yeah. I got nothing more to say. I freaking love My Hero Ultra Rumble, and if it weren't for the little minor faults of this game, it would absolutely be higher on the list. Fantastic game. Great job, Bandai Namco. I'm super stoked for Sparking Zero. Well, that segment took a lot longer than I expected, so let's make this next entry a little bit quicker. Number 4 on the list is that PS5 exclusive game that I actually got to play at a gaming shop kiosk, And that just so happened to be the best horror game of the year, Dead Space. Remember how I said earlier that the Gaming Shock kiosk only had one PS5 game that I could play? Well, this is that one that they actually had, and it's undeniably among the greatest games of the year. Another one that I never got to experience when it originally came out way back when on the Xbox 360, and trust me, I plan to get those games eventually. This remake showed me how effective and downright terrifying this game is. Superb graphics, horrifying designs, vicious kills, extreme gore, terrifying atmosphere, excellent storytelling, very high difficulty in places that feel so satisfying to overcome, and insanely good level design. Hands down, the best horror game of this year by a mile. I really don't know what else to say. It's another amazing remake, thanks to Motive. Not EA, screw you EA, this is all Motive. So yeah, amazing job Motive. You made an incredible remake. But it's not the best remake of this year, believe it or not. Yeah, I know, controversial what I'm about to say, but in my opinion, that should go to our number 3 spot, which also so happens to be my favorite of the Switch exclusive titles released this year. And there's going to be some bias here. Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp. I know a lot of you don't know this about me, but growing up, back when I still had my Game Boy Advance, the game that I would play the most outside of just, the Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga that we all played, was undoubtedly Advance Wars. And for those of you who don't know what this is, it's a turn-based RPG where you control tanks and planes and all kinds of military stuff, and you have to try and defeat this other team by strategically placing the tanks and planes and ships and whatever on a certain map. And then when it gets close enough, then you can enter a battle phase. And in this battle phase, you can try to take down the opponent or just weaken them enough so that you can finish them on your next turn when you move on your next piece. Whether it's another ship or another plane or another tank. And this game was so much fun, man. Like, I can't even begin to describe how much fun this game was. Even as someone who doesn't really play that many RPGs, Advance Wars was always my favorite. And I have always tried to play this game as much as possible, even to this very day, thanks to my emulated Xbox, because this game has only gotten better as years gone by, and it's one of those games that I was hoping and praying would get a remake. And that's why you saw the reaction out of me that you did when this remake got announced at one of the many Nintendo Directs that I reacted to. Heck, I think it was actually the first Nintendo Direct I ever reacted to. So, yeah, this one has a special place in my heart. It's an absolute dream come true, and it was more than worth the money. So, my segment on this one may be pretty brief, but this one's here a lot because of nostalgia and because Nintendo made one of my personal dreams come true by remaking one of their greatest Game Boy Advance titles into another phenomenal Switch title. Get Messenger off my screen. I absolutely adore the original Advance Wars, and it remains one of my most frequently played Game Boy Advance games to this very day on my emulated OG Xbox. And re-experiencing them again in this incredible remake this year really was a treat. Sure, the gameplay and mechanics are pretty much the same as the original game, but now it has this awesome anime-esque art style that really brightens up the colors and gives it a ton of new visual flair that really just pops on a Switch screen. Call it nostalgia, call it recency bias, call it whatever you want. But this is without a doubt standing above head and shoulders above all the other remakes and all the Switch exclusives this year. Highly recommended if you for whatever reason have not experienced this incredible turn-based RPG. Yes, I never got to play the second Advance Wars, it was always the first one, but both games are undoubtedly great, and I'm so glad that Nintendo brought them back this year with this absolutely stellar remake. So, yep, thank you, Nintendo. You're in my good graces this year, and at least for another 5 years for this alone. Seriously, thank you, thank you, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for bringing back one of my childhood classics into the modern era with a beautiful, gorgeous new art style that allowed me to re-experience the thrill of this awesome turn-based RPG yet again. And that's pretty much all I can say about it. So, yep, it may be biased, but it's an incredible game. Play it if you haven't already, for whatever reason. Number 2, you know how I said that pesky Blue Devil didn't make the top 10? April Fools! We're January Fools! Ha ha ha! Number 2 is Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. Yes, the visual novel murder mystery game released unexpectedly on April Fool's Day by Sega exclusively on Steam is number 2 on this list. And trust me, it absolutely deserves it. The phenomenal Persona-like art style works perfectly for Sonic, and all the new character designs are some of the most incredible and detailed in the entire franchise. The gameplay is compelling and challenging while also being far different from any other Sonic game. I mean, this is a point-and-click murder mystery title. It's not your usual get to the end of the goal, if you know what I mean. Not your average Sonic game. The story is ingenious and self-aware, especially the hilarious ending where you find out why this game was released on April Fool's Day. And the total playtime, while short, because this is a free game after all, you can only expect so much, is extremely satisfying. Sure, it's no top 10 Sonic game contender, but it's still a great game that more than deserves your time. And I'm sorry for not streaming this game in October like I said I was going to do, but trust me, I have played it off stream, and it is an amazing time. It may be short, but it's more about the journey rather than the destination. And this was yet another excellent Sonic game. Sure, Superstars didn't quite make the top 10, but I knew the second I finished it that Murder had to make it at least in the top 3. So, congrats Sonic, you still found your way into the top spot. But, unlike Frontiers, you did not clean Game of the Year. You got close. Trust me, you got close. And the fact that this is a free Steam game and still this incredible really is an achievement. But it is not my favorite game of this year. You wanna know what it is? Well, let's figure it out together, shall we? Well, let's let you figure it out together. Number 1. I am someone who has been a champion of this publisher, this developer, and this franchise for the longest of time. It is a game that I had high anticipation for the second it was announced, that I literally lost my mind over when I first saw it announced at a specific little showcase that I reacted to. And not only did it live up to that hype, it accelerated to heights that I could not ever fathom. So not only it is now my favorite game in this particular franchise, but it is arguably my favorite licensed game ever. Better than Battle for Bikini Bottom, better than Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, better than all of them. And from what other place can it come from but the greatest publisher of the modern gaming age? From a franchise that I've been with pretty much since the beginning, and that's only gotten better as time's gone on. So, it is with great pride and great joy that I announce that my favorite game, my number 1 best game of 2023 is SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake. Yes, I know no one's gonna have this at their number one spot but me. But I cannot even try to deny how amazing this game is. As someone who's grown up with SpongeBob pretty much his entire life, this game more than lived up to everything I wanted it to be and more. Published by the licensed game kings THQ Nordic, and developed by the creators of the absolutely phenomenal Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated remake, Purple Lamp Studios. Cosmic Shake does everything that Battle for Bikini Bottom did right, and finds a way to do it even better. Yes, you only have one playable character this time. I know that can probably be a huge drawback for a lot of people, but in return, you get a far more diverse, expansive, complex, and just all-around incredible new moveset. From the cartwheel, to the slam, to the pizza box glide, SpongeBob's moveset in this game is far expanded from what it was in the original Battle for Bikini Bottom and that rehydrated remake, and it's made into something even better. Then you have the level design, which each of them has their own specific theme, but are still based around locations from the show. Whether it's the medieval sulfur fields, Wild West jellyfish fields, or the movie-themed downtown Bikini Bottom. All of them are absolutely stellar in their design, and each of them, every single theme, was a ton of fun to go through. Especially with the help of this game's many unlockable costumes, which are both references to the entirety of SpongeBob's history, but also perfectly fit each and every theme world perfectly. Whether you're playing as Cowboy SpongeBob from Pest of the West, SpongeGar from SB129, or even Band Geek SpongeBob, Opposite Day SpongeBob, Goofy Goober Rock God SpongeBob. They're all incredible, and each costume looks amazing and ripped right out of the show itself. The graphics? Absolutely out-freaking standing. This is undeniably the most beautiful, gorgeous looking, incredibly well done, as my computer starts to shut itself off because I'm talking for so long. Well done SpongeBob game graphics ever. It's flexible, it's animated, it's goofy, it's expressive, and it looks amazing. Not to mention, just like in Rehydrated, you also have texture on all the characters. So you have like a sponge-like texture for SpongeBob, you have like the fabric of his pants, you have maybe a hardened texture for someone like Mr. Krabs. Like, everyone in this game has texture. Sure, you don't see it at first, but when you get a close-up look, it just goes to show the amount of love and passion put into every single frame of this game. The humor? As great as the best of SpongeBob episodes, with a ton of pre-movie level jokes at times, including the hilarious up-close gross-out gags. A lot of fun dialogue, and sure, little lines here and there may be hit or miss, but most of this game was funny, had a smile on my face, and had me chuckling pretty much all the way through. The gameplay itself, incredibly fun. This is some of the most fun gameplay I've ever had. Not only because of SpongeBob's expanded new style, but also because of the intricate level design. and the way that each one brings a brand new challenge and a brand new move to SpongeBob's moveset in every single world. Whether it's animal riding, a Sonic Spin Dash like karate kick, or many, many others that I won't dare spoil. They're incredible. The story, as goofy and fun as you want SpongeBob's stories to be. With a brand new character, Madame Cassandra, a ton of references to older episodes. And sure, the ending is a bit anticlimactic, but again, this is a successor to Battle for Bikini Bottom, which also had a bit of an anticlimactic ending, so yeah, I'm not going to hold this game against that, because from the start, from the very moment this game was announced, they said that this was going to be a straight up follow-up to Battle for Bikini Bottom. A spiritual successor that takes that gameplay style, that template, and elevates it to heights never seen before. And then you have the voice acting, which not only has Clancy Brown as Mr. Krabs, which automatically makes it one of the best SpongeBob games ever, but also pretty much everyone else in the cast here is represented. Even Pearl, in her first ever video game appearance, voiced by Jill Talley, does an absolutely phenomenal job. And then of course you have the rest of the cast: Tom Kenny, Bill Fagerbakke, Mr. Doug Lawrence. They all deliver outstanding performances that deserve to be right up there with some of their best performances in all of SpongeBob. And then you have the music, which I praised endlessly in my review of this game. Heck, this was the only game I actually did a full review on. And it's because it's a game that's very close to my heart. It's a game that I knew was going to be amazing, that I had to make sure to spread the word about, so all of you guys got to experience it for yourself. And the music of this game is some of the best video game music I've ever heard. Keeping with the level themes, having their own theme for each and every single Wish world that you experience. Excuse me, allergies. This game also has very specific music for each and every single Wish world, and the music is stellar. Whether it's medieval Sulphur Fields, or Wild West Jellyfish Fields, or downtown Bikini Bottom, or even Jelly Glove World. And yes, this is the first time in a SpongeBob game we get to actually experience Glove World, even if it is for a very brief moment. Still a first for the franchise. Then you have the boss fights, which, while there aren't a whole lot of them, are still very memorable and still very well done. And then, on top of all of that, you have a bunch of stuff to do in every single level. Whether it's helping the Flying Dutchman defeat Prawn, and yes, Prawn's back for the first time since the original Battle for Bikini Bottom, which is awesome, and hopefully he becomes a series mainstay. Or finding pieces of a broken bubble wand all throughout the medieval Sulphur Fields. Or helping an evil lookalike of Mr. Krabs get all of the juice out of cactuses. Each one throws a new challenge your way, with a ton of platforming to boot. And yeah, this is the best 3D Collectathon platformer of all time, in my opinion. And not to mention, on top of all the awesome original music, there is also over 100 songs from the entirety of SpongeBob's history in this game all throughout. The Fun Song, Sweet Victory, Goofy Goober Rock, they are all in this game. And keep in mind, this is still $40. This isn't $60, this isn't $70, but it delivers an experience so incredible that it deserves to be up there as a full AAA experience. not just for SpongeBob fans, but also for any fan of any collectible 3D platformer. It's an incredible game, it's a phenomenal game, and I really don't know how I can do it justice in this little segment I have here. But it really is an incredible experience, and I can't think of another game that deserves the top spot more than this one. Sonic got it last year, but this year, it belongs to everyone's favorite absorbent nautical sponge. And now to finish off with my initial script, because I really had to add extra to this one, not only because I wanted to pass the hour mark for this video, but also because this is a game that just really deserves to be discussed in depth. Which again, I did in my initial review, that I will put in a comment in the comment section of this video, because it's a game that all of you need to experience for yourself, and if for whatever reason you haven't experienced it yet, you need to. Ignore what the dumb outlets like GameSpot and 7GN are saying, and play this game for yourself. If you're a SpongeBob fan, this is going to give you everything you want. If you're a fan of 3D collectathon platformers, this will give you everything you want. And if you're a fan of both, then you're probably in for one of the greatest gaming experiences of your life. I have been championing THQ Nordic for the past 3 years, and they've only gotten better as time's gone on. And Purple Lamp Studios deserves to be up there with some of the greatest development teams in all of video game history. I don't care if it's just me putting it on this high pedestal. It deserves it. Now for my actual script. It's kinda ironic how the best game of the year is the first game released this year. Yes, this was the first game released this year. This came out in January of 2023. But Purple Lamp has really outdone themselves this time with what's possibly the new king of the SpongeBob games. Seeing as how I've already done a full review of this one, I'll keep it brief, even though I kind of did the opposite, but whatever. But this truly is one of the greatest games I've ever played in my life. The gameplay, the style, the story, the voice acting, the characters, the writing, the level design, the music, the fan service to both old and new fans, the boss fights, and especially the music, are all absolutely amazing all throughout this game. And as stacked as this year has been for gaming, this is the game that I knew the second I finished it was going to be all the way at the top of the quality mountain and be a measuring stick for every single game going forward. It's the best THQ Nordic game of the year, it's the best licensed game of the year, it's the best SpongeBob game to date, and it is undeniably, undisputably, in my personal 100% objective opinion, the #1 best game of 2023. Not bad for a goofy goober, huh? Congrats, SpongeBob. And not to mention, you also won 2 Stat Squad awards. I mean, it speaks for itself. Play this game. And with that, as we reach the nearly 1 hour and 4 minute mark, we are done. That was the top 20 best games of 2023. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let's look forward to an even more crazy year of gaming up ahead in 2024, this particular year. And let's see how even more stiff the competition can get from here. But yeah, I literally have nothing else to say. It's been an incredible year for games, and these are just the 20 that I think deserve to be among the best of the best. So feel free to leave your own best games in the comments down below. I will be sure to read each and every one of them. And please don't forget to like this video, share, and subscribe for more content like this almost every single day. Like I said, outside of year-end lists, I am taking a break through most of January to recharge. So I'm gonna go get a throat lozenge now, and probably go play this amazing game for the 8th or 9th time already. So that's all I got. Thank you guys for watching. Have an absolutely spectacular day. I'm Jack Small of Animation Station, and I'll see you in 2024.